Lakeshore remains closed near Islington for a murder investigation. A man fatally stabbed and a second person injured in an altercation.
And the countdown to an Air Canada strike or lockout. All sides are weighing in. Passengers and business leaders, they're concerned.
And the family of an elderly sick patient at Brampton Civic Hospital who was shaved without permission is speaking out today. The hospital launching an investigation. We'll tell you more.
Well, it's out of this world, but within reach if you can afford it. The first private citizen goes for a spacewalk, and you know what, Lena? He's a billionaire.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thank you for joining us on Live at 5. We begin tonight with the city's latest homicide. A man is dead, and police are searching for a second person believed to be injured after a fight near Lakeshore and Islington.
Right now, let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, who continues our coverage from the scene. Beatrice.
Bakari, Lena, here we are, 5 o'clock in the evening, about 11 hours after the stabbing happened. Really, the altercation was only lasted about 4 minutes long from beginning to end. I want to show you what it looks like right now because the police activity still happening here on the stretch of Lakeshore between Islington and 6th Street. The forensic markers put out by investigators this morning, still here on the north side, about a dozen evidence markers. We believe that's where the altercation actually started. It spilled out through the street, really, onto the south side of Lakeshore. There's about half a dozen evidence markers there, with the victim eventually collapsing right in front of one of these storefronts here on the south side of Lakeshore. He was transported to the hospital with critical injuries. He's since died. I want to show you some surveillance camera footage that was obtained by CP24 this morning. It's actually from a store that's on the north side of Lakeshore. So we're going to be on the north side of the street looking south. And what this surveillance camera footage shows, Lena and Bakari, is two people coming into the frame. They fall to the ground. They're fighting. In the midst of this melee, the stabbing happens, and one of the stabbing victim ultimately collapses in front of a bridal dress storefront. The rest of the video, which of course we're not showing to our viewers, shows that the stabbing victim continuously being physically assaulted, being kicked. A jacket that was here at the scene up until just about an hour ago, the suspect putting it on top of the victim. And then shortly thereafter, just within a minute or so, two more people arrived to the south side of Lakeshore as well. They stand around, and eventually 3 people in total walk very calmly away from the stabbing victim, going eastbound on Lakeshore. We talked to one of the people who works inside that bridal store about what she saw and what she understands about what happened here first thing this morning, and here's what she told us.
Before you see the persons in camera view, you could hear somebody asking, do you need to go to the hospital? And then there was some other, you couldn't really make out the rest of the audio. And then afterwards, the witness, you could hear her asking what happened, do I need to call the police?
So this stretch of Lakeshore has been closed. You're not seeing any vehicular or pedestrian traffic. It was a very different story in the middle of the morning when this was happening. So again, 5:57 till about 6:01 a.m. The wide shot of the security camera footage that we shows you shows lots of streetcars going by, cars going by, pedestrians going by. And it was actually a passerby who called 911. Police say a second person also suffered stab wounds in the midst of this altercation, and police are concerned for this person's well-being. Here was the appeal from this morning from the acting inspector, Dan Pravica. Listen.
We are concerned for the potential safety of, we've been advised that a second male also suffered some stab wounds. We're concerned for that individual as he has not made himself known to us. We do not believe that he has attended a local hospital or sought any medical help. We're hoping to locate this person and have him get the medical help it is alleged that he needs. We are canvassing right now for any video. We're asking for any witnesses, any cell phone video, any dash cam video, any surveillance video for people to come forward and give us a call.
When I last spoke to police about an hour ago, this person had not come to hospital. Police have not received any phone calls from any hospitals or other medical institutions where this person could have received medical attention for their stab wounds. What police have not said, Lena and Bakari, is how this person is connected. Is the second person injured also believed to be the suspect responsible for this deadly stabbing? Police have not said. They also have not said how long this road will be closed for. Back to you.
Okay, near Lakeshore and Islington, CP24's Beatrice Aisman. Thank you. Well, Mayor Olivia Chow says that new data shows the measures implemented by the city to ease traffic that they're actually working.
Yeah, but are Toronto residents noticing a difference? Let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya on Spadina to explain. First of all, are you seeing a difference?
You know what? I think it depends, Lena and Bakari, what time of day you're driving at, what's happening in the city this week. I mean, it all kind of varies, but I'm standing on Spadina right now. Obviously, it doesn't mean that there's no traffic, that's for sure. But it means that traffic times have been cut down on busy routes like Spadina, like King Street, like the Gardiner and Lakeshore as well. And we heard Mayor Olivia Chow today saying that data shows that the management congestion plan in the city is working, cutting down a little bit of time here on Spadina. You're taking a look at these cars. Apparently, median afternoon travel time has cut down. It's been cut in half from 24 minutes to 12 minutes. I'm not sure if people who are sitting in this traffic right now notice that much of a difference, but it did maybe look a little bit worse a few months ago. If you remember back when all this first started, especially some of the construction on the Gardiner and taking streetcars off of Spadina, it was quite a mess. It's not perfect right now, but the data shows that it is improving. We heard from the mayor today a little bit more about, how she's feeling about all this. Have a listen.
Thousands of vehicles are making this left turn, and travel time for people using the Gardiner has reduced by 5 to 18 minutes. In fact, you can feel it. There's the queue lane on the Gardiner is now much shorter or not there anymore. 5 to 18 minutes improvement in the Gardiner as you go on East Lane.
And it was interesting, too, today, Lena and Bakari, we actually heard Mayor Olivia Chow apologizing, saying that the city really should have implemented some of the strategies that they're using now, like changing traffic times on King Street so that streetcars can get through faster, having more traffic agents on areas like Spadina to make sure cars aren't blocking intersections. All of this, Mayor Olivia Chow was saying today that they should have implemented earlier, and they didn't, and she did apologize. So obviously, it looks as though things are maybe moving a little quicker, but there's still some issues in Toronto that we need to work out. But it is good news today, a few minutes shaved off your afternoon commute. Back to you.
Yeah, we'll take it, I guess. Lindsay Biscaya reporting live from Spadina tonight. It's now 5:07, 24 degrees. Speaking of congestion, let's talk to our traffic specialist, Adjoa and Siayabwa.
Yeah.
You know a lot about that word, my friend.
I do, unfortunately. It's not my favorite word, but it happens a lot when you are reporting on traffic. So if you're making your way out, you have congestion, and a word I don't like to tell you about is a collision, which we are dealing with, happening on the northbound lanes of the 400. This has been here for over an hour now. So northbound on the 400, on the approach to Highway 7, 2 left lanes out with this ongoing collision. Delays extend from the 401, headed towards the 401. This is the Bayview southbound on-ramp to the eastbound 401. It is blocked with some sort of police activity. They're not zooming out, so I'm not too sure what's going on, but that ramp is not accessible. Rest of the 401, more congestion as you head both east and westbound. And in open talking about the Gardiner, myself, I'm not really seeing any major lightness in terms of traffic volume and congestion. It's still very, very jammed. You know what, though? The Lakeshore through here actually moving a little bit better. So maybe things are working just depending on your route. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
William Osler Health System says that it's investigating after complaints about an elderly sick patient being shaved without permission. This was at Brampton Civic Hospital.
The World Sikh Organization of Canada says it expressed its shock and outrage to the CEO of Osler. The group says the incident involving Joginder Singh Kalair took place last month, despite explicit instructions from his family to respect his religious beliefs and not shave him. It notes shaving or removal of hair, that's a violation of the beliefs of practicing Sikhs. The family says they still don't know why the facial hair was removed, since no medical procedure was required at the hospital. We spoke to Kalair's son-in-law today.
He gets transferred to Brampton Civic. A similar type of a phone call is made to her family, and same answer was given. Please do not shave him unless it's a unless it's a medical emergency, medical reasons, and we weren't given a reason, so we denied them to shave his face. They said, okay, they hung up the phone, and the next time a family member goes to visit him, he was clean shaven.
The William Osler Health System issued a statement to CP24 that reads, quote, Osler strives to deliver safe and compassionate care for every patient we serve, and we are sorry and deeply concerned when we do not meet the standard our patients and their families expect and deserve. Osler respects the religious rights and freedoms of all Canadians and supports a positive, inclusive, and safe environment while caring for our community and each other with kindness, empathy, and understanding.
Now, according to the William Osler Health System, funds raised by the Sikh community helped complete the development of Brampton Civic Hospital, which opened in 2007. That contribution was recognized by naming the emergency department after the founder of Sikhism, Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
We have breaking news. The Toronto International Film Festival says that it is being forced to pause the upcoming screenings of a controversial movie. This is about the war in Ukraine because of significant threats to festival operations as well as public safety.
Yeah, here's what TIFF is saying about that this hour. Russians at war. It follows a Russian army battalion that's fighting in Ukraine. It's been met with a lot of backlash from members of the Ukrainian community who have called for it to be pulled. The film was screened at TIFF earlier this week for press and industry members. It was slated for public screenings this weekend, but won't be shown now. A statement from TIFF reads in part, as a cultural institution, we support civil discourse about and through films, including differences of opinion, and we fully support peaceful assembly. When we select films, we're guided by TIFF's mission, our values, and our programming principles. We believe this film has earned a place in our festival's lineup, and we are committed to screening it when it is safe to do so. We're going to keep a close eye on this story and get more reaction for you.
Right now it's 5:12, 24 degrees, feeling more like 28 outside. This is Live at 5.
A potential pilot strike or lockout at Canada's largest airline is only days away. The latest on talks straight ahead. Welcome back. Air Canada is asking the federal government to be ready to intervene in its labor talks with its pilots as time runs out before a potential shutdown.
The airline's calling for binding arbitration if negotiations fail. Airline spokesman Christophe Annabelle says Air Canada is committed to talks, but it faces, quote, unreasonable wage demands from the pilots union that it can't meet. The union, representing over 5,000 Air Canada pilots, has said it's corporate greed that's holding up talks as Air Canada continues to post record profits while expecting pilots to accept below-market compensation.
And a statement from Air Canada President Michael Rousseau reads in part, with talks nearing an impasse and time for negotiation running out, the travel plans of hundreds of thousands of Canadians are hanging in the balance. We are taking all measures to mitigate any impact, but the reality is even a short work stoppage at Air Canada could, given the complexity of our business operating on a global scale, cause prolonged disruption for customers.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau weighed in on the possible job action today. Here's what he said.
Of course, we've been following the Air Canada situation closely. We remain firm that the best deals happen at the bargaining table, and that's where parties need to keep working. The minister's actually going to be meeting with the parties today to impress on them the fact that millions of Canadians are counting on everyone to get this resolved.
And passengers flying with Air Canada are already worried about a possible disruption.
It's a little unnerving. Yeah. I mean, I just am hoping things will go well. Yeah, that's all you can do. Air Canada has said that they put some goodwill policies in place to try and help us, but as much as those goodwill policies will help us, it's also just the inconvenience of feeling stranded.
We got to look at the Toronto strike headquarters for Air Canada pilots. The Airline Pilots Association says that the strike center will ensure Air Canada pilots are fully supported if a strike occurs or if Air Canada shuts down operations.
Today is a bit of a trial run for our team. Everybody here is a volunteer on their own time, on their days off. ensuring that our infrastructure is ready to support our membership if a work stoppage does occur. They're actually fielding calls live right now from our members looking for information about how this is all going to unfold.
I would say that with negotiations, any negotiations, it's incredibly fluid and dynamic. And so we have seen some movement in the last couple days. We're not there yet, though. We do need Air Canada to really show up and compensate, value this pilot group appropriately for the work that we do provide Air Canada.
Air Canada pilots entered federal conciliation with their employer at the end of June. If no agreement is reached by the end of the cooling off period, Air Canada pilots will be in a position for job action as early as September 18th. That's next week.
Right now it's 5:17, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, a billionaire steps out for the first ever private spacewalk. We'll have reaction to the historic moment up ahead.
A private citizen has completed a spacewalk for the first time ever.
There's SpaceX. Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like...
And just like that, history was made. Billionaire Jared Isaacman stepped out from the Dragon capsule 700 kilometers above Earth. He was outside for less than 15 minutes and completed various ability checks on SpaceX's new EVA suits. Professional astronaut Sarah Gillis also popped outside to go through the same tests. Both were meant to keep a hand on the hatch at all times, unlike what happens at the International Space Station, where astronauts routinely float out to do repairs at a much lower orbit.
But CTV science and technology expert Dan Riskin says that the commercial mission is actually going to help continue the advancement of spacesuits.
A lot of what they had to do was very simple, like grab this bar with your arm turned this way, grab the bar with your arm turned that way. How does it feel? And they were finding big differences. To hold a vertical bar was much more difficult than to hold a horizontal bar, for example. And so this is feedback that goes into the design of the next generation of these spacesuits. But in general, what you can see from those spacesuits right off the bat is they're way more flexible. They're way smaller, they're way lighter. And that's exciting because, ultimately we all want to look like Matt Damon walking around on the surface of Mars, able to sort of do stuff instead of being like, the inflatable snowman or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters.
Well, Paul Delaney, Professor Emeritus of Physics and Astronomy at York University, joined us with more on today's historic spacewalk.
These are brand new spacesuits. That's why you commented on the mobility, the flexibility. These two astronauts today, Isaacman and Gillis, they are people pretty much like you and me. Maybe we're not quite as wealthy as Isaacman, but nonetheless, in terms of our innate abilities, it's you and me up there, and that's just another step forward as far as the opportunities in low Earth orbit for the run-of-the-mill everyday citizen.
To build a suit that can now be developed into even more capability, that's what we need as we get further and further from Earth. And the Chinese have stated categorically they will have people walking on the moon by 2030, 5 years from now. So this is a big moment in history, and you need ships and you need the protective clothing that allow you to explore and live in these new places.
It's a really important step forward for commercial space travel. And I think this is the millennium in which we will see humans traveling farther in space, living on the moon, living on the surface of Mars. So developing this capability in the commercial space sector is helping grow the global space economy, which is today a $350 billion economy, growing to $1.1 trillion over the next 20 years.
NASA Administrator Bill Nelson congratulating Polaris and SpaceX on the spacewalk, writing on X, quote, "Today's success represents a giant leap forward for the commercial space industry and NASA's long-term goal to build a vibrant U.S. space economy."
It's 5:22, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And coming up, a charity basketball games being held in Regent Park today for a good cause.
Welcome back. A charity basketball game was held today to raise money for cancer research at Princess Margaret Hospital.
Canadian Olympic relay champions Andre DeGrasse, Jerome Blake, and Brendan Rodney, they're among the big names participating in the second annual Battleground Uniting for a Cancer-Free Tomorrow. The event blends entertainment, philanthropy, and sportsmanship promoting charitable giving, healthy living, and the celebration of talent. We had a chance to talk to some of the stars before the game.
I'm just grateful to be here today. When I got the invite about this event, Battleground, and what it was for, and the cause, I couldn't turn it down. I mean, I'm in the city. I'm not usually in the city much often, so I thought, hey, I'll come out here, see the kids, play a little bit, do a little coaching. But it's a great cause, charity basketball game. It's one of my favorite sports, so I'm happy to be here with a lot of great names, actors, athletes, and just here to have some fun and just have a great time with the kids. So it's definitely exciting.
You get text messages and stuff you just all love, people on Instagram, but when you're here now, people come up to you, they want to hug you, they're excited, people want to see the medal, take pictures, so that love and that notoriety is, is definitely a different feeling, and it's happy that we can do it for Canada and happy that we can do it for, our family and, everybody that supports us.
Whenever you get an opportunity to represent the country of Canada and all the people who support you and stuff like that, for me, so coming back here and doing this event and just letting everyone know that, we're here too, supporting, cancer and just the importance, creating more buzz around that and just let everybody know how important it is to, as much as you may be an athlete and you're busy and stuff, but you want to come out and support, the community and do things in the community and give back. And that's a big thing for me, just giving back to the community and let everybody know that, we're here to support and not just, we appreciate the support that we get from Canada as well, so it's our turn to come back now. And, even though we just got back, you want to make sure, you're giving back to the community and, just letting everybody know, we're around and love to meet everybody and say thank you in person.
Mayor Olivia Chow was also there to show her support. Here's what she had to say.
I've had cancer, no problem. My late husband died of cancer. And to have the stars coming out to fundraise, to have someone like Emmanuel Kabongo and all the Olympians here saying we will conquer cancer by fundraising. It's an honor for me to be here.
And before the game, a group of kids from 2 schools came to the Regent Park Community Center to get some basketball tips and learn some new skills and watch some of the players playing in the charity game. I'm sure that meant so much.
Really cool.
Very cool.
Right now it's 5:27, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
We are following breaking news. The Toronto International Film Festival now says it's being forced to pause the upcoming screenings of a controversial movie about the war in Ukraine because of significant threats to festival operations and public safety.
Lakeshore remains closed near Islington. This is for a murder investigation. A man was fatally stabbed. Second person injured, all in what police are calling an altercation.
The countdown to an Air Canada strike or lockout is on. All sides are weighing in, and passengers and business leaders, they're concerned. We'll tell you more.
And the family of an elderly sick patient at Brampton Civic Hospital who was shaved without permission is speaking out. The hospital has launched an investigation.
And it's out of this world, but within reach, if you can afford it, that is. The first private citizen goes for a spacewalk, and he's a billionaire. This
is Live at 5.
Good evening, I'm Lena Latifat.
I'm not Bakari Savage.
Breaking news from the Toronto International Film Festival this hour. It says it's being forced to pause the upcoming screenings of a controversial movie about the war in Ukraine because of significant threats to festival operations and public safety.
Russians at War. It follows a Russian army battalion that's fighting in Ukraine. It's been met with backlash from members of the Ukrainian community who've called for it to be pulled. The film was screened at TIFF earlier this week for press and industry members. It was slated for public screenings this weekend, but it's not going to be shown. A statement from TIFF reads in part, quote, "As a cultural institution, we support civil discourse about and through films, including differences of opinion, and we fully support peaceful assembly. When we select films, we are guided by TIFF's mission, our values, and our programming principles. We believe this film has earned a place in our festival's lineup, and we are committed to screening it when it is safe to do so.
Now, the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress helped organize a protest against the film. That was on Tuesday. They say the film amounts to propaganda. The film is a Canadian-French co-production. Canadian-Russian filmmaker Anastasia Trufimova, who's rather stated that she believes Russia's war in Ukraine is unjustified and illegal, says the goal was to listen and attempt to show how war destroys people. We should also note CP24 spoke with Cameron Bailey, the CEO of TIFF, yesterday, who said he believes the movie should have been screened because it is an anti-war documentary.
Okay, going back to one of our top stories, we began, with the city's latest homicide. A man's dead, and police are now still searching for a second person believed to have been injured. This is all in a fight near Lakeshore and Islington.
Let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Faisman, who's at the scene with the latest. Beatrice.
Yeah. Lena Bakari, this entire altercation and fight lasting less than 4 minutes along this stretch of Lakeshore between 6th and Islington around 6 o'clock this morning. Still an active scene. Here's what it looks like right now. Nearly 12 hours after this all unfolded, this stretch of Lakeshore is still closed. The evidence markers laid down by forensic investigators still on the ground as well. The altercation, we believe, started on the north side of Lakeshore, right at Islington. About a dozen evidence markers still on the ground there. Two people in an altercation. It spilled essentially across Lakeshore. They continued to tussle. Ultimately, the altercation ends on the south side of Lakeshore, about half a dozen evidence markers on the south side, and then the victim ultimately collapsing in front of a storefront here along the south side. I want to show you security camera footage obtained by CP24, which actually shows the altercation in action. The video shows two people coming into the frame. They fall to the ground. They're fighting. The fight continues onto the sidewalk, and then the stabbing victim ultimately collapses in front of the storefront. The stabbing victim, we know, was found in critical condition by paramedics. He was rushed to a trauma center where sadly he died from his injuries. The video also, and we're not showing this portion to our viewers, but it continues to show a physical assault on the victim. The suspect, you can see it in the video, is repeatedly kicking the person who's on the ground. There's also a jacket that we saw here that was seized by forensic investigators as a piece of evidence. The suspect is putting this jacket on top of the victim, ultimately looks like patting him down, looking for personal belongings. And then the suspect, along with two other people who walk into the frame, all leave together, calmly walking eastbound on Lakeshore. It looks like two men and a woman, plus a dog, leaving the stabbing victim essentially helpless, waiting for first responders to arrive. We talked to a couple people here along this stretch of Lakeshore to get their reaction to what happened, and here's what they told us.
It's shaking. It's nerve-wracking because it's so close to home. It's, literally feet from my home. So it will makes me, be very vigilant about my surroundings.
This is one of my regular running routes, and for morning runners, 5, 6 a.m. runners, I was up and ready to run at that time, but I didn't, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because I wasn't entirely, I wouldn't have been safe.
What our viewers can't see in the security video footage that we've shown you, because we've zoomed in to show the altercation, is that it was really busy here on Lakeshore at 6 o'clock in the morning. There were lots of vehicles going by, streetcars, pedestrians, cyclists, and it was actually a passerby who called 911. The duty inspector who talked to us here at the scene this morning says there is another person who was injured in this stabbing, this second person, a man, needing medical attention, and he's not gotten that medical attention at this point, Lena and Bakari. Police have not said if they believe this second injured person is also the prime suspect in this now latest homicide here in the city of Toronto. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Beatrice Faisman live near Lakeshore and Islington. Thank you. And with the potential shutdown looming at Air Canada, the airline's asking Ottawa to be ready to intervene if it cannot reach a new contract with pilots.
CTV's Mike Walker is following the latest developments. He joins us live from inside Pearson Airport tonight. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. A lot of people bracing for impact.
Yeah, a lot of travelers departing here at Pearson Airport today, Lena and Bakari, tell us they are on edge, not sure if the flights they booked for when they anticipate to return home will be made available to them. At this point, as we understand, negotiations are still going. Both sides are still at the bargaining table. They say progress is being made, but the pilots union tells us that there are still many hurdles they need to overcome, and one of the major sticking points is wages. They say in many scenarios their pilots make half of what their counterparts do with other airlines, including in the U.S., and in some instances they have to work second jobs. Now, with the clock ticking, Air Canada today urging the federal government to step in and order binding arbitration to prevent any work stoppage, any travel disruptions. It was a call also echoed by business groups today who are from across the country. They argue that if there is a strike, this would have a ripple effect on the economy. The Prime Minister responded to this today, Justin Trudeau, telling reporters that the government expects both sides to remain at the bargaining table to hammer out a deal. As for those travelers who are nervous, many tell us they're hoping all of this can be averted, but they are considering plans B and possibly plan C to get back home. Here's more.
My mom is just flying to Vegas, and she has to come back. She's coming back on 16th night on Air Canada. And as of now, we know that on 15th they might start shutting down. We don't know if it's gonna shut down or what's gonna happen. So we are looking at WestJet, we're looking at other options. But is right now everything is gonna get expensive. So it's gonna create a lot of havoc for us.
A few minutes ago, I dropped her, and she going to Brazil, and she nervous because she heard about what's going on. The strike, but she bought the fly, and I think so everything gonna be well. Yeah. I don't know, because it's different, you know.
The Prime Minister also noted today that the Labour Minister would be meeting with both sides today as they continue negotiations. Now, if a deal cannot be reached, the required 72-hour strike notice is expected to be made on Sunday, and then Air Canada said in that case they would begin the gradual shutdown of operations and cancellations of flights over that 3-day period leading up to a potential work stoppage. But again, both sides and the government hoping, and travelers for that matter, hoping all of this can be averted as negotiations continue. Bakari, Lena, back to you.
All right, CTV's Mike Walker at the airport. Thanks, Mike.
Right now it's 5:39, 23 degrees. Feels like 27 outside. This is Live at 5.
Mayor Olivia Chow says the city is making progress in easing downtown gridlock. Is it enough, though? We're going to hear from Toronto residents next.
Mayor Olivia Chow says that new data shows the measures implemented by the city to ease traffic are working.
But are Toronto residents noticing a difference? Let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya on Spadina. This is the perfect time to find out, Lindsay.
Yeah, exactly, Lena and Bakari. And we have been trying to ask people while they are stuck in traffic here on Spadina whether they feel that this has made a difference, maybe 2 minutes after their commute. That's what the data shows, at least on Spadina. Most people saying no, they're not noticing a difference. I can tell you, though, you're seeing a lot of gridlock right now. We've been standing here for a little while, and it does clear. It does seem to be moving a little bit quicker than it was maybe about 2-3 months ago. So there may be some obviously some concrete data here, and the data does show that it's moving better. This comes as the city implemented its congestion management plan. That means that lights on roads such as Spadina here, King Street, the Gardiner, they're changing faster. It means that there's more traffic agents. At this intersection up here at Front and Spadina, there's usually traffic agents, and that stops cars from blocking intersections, and it apparently stops them 96% of the time. So we're seeing the numbers here in terms of how traffic is moving faster here on Spadina. The median afternoon travel time has been cut in half, from 24 minutes to 12 minutes. And we also heard from the city's director of traffic management today explaining how they're getting these numbers. Here's more.
We use what we call a travel time index as our measure of congestion around the city. And quite frankly, the data is basically showing us that it's relatively consistent. It's consistently bad, but it's not getting worse. And quite frankly, with all the changes, and it's a dynamic, vibrant, and growing city. The population is growing, traffic volumes we are seeing are growing, but the fact that we're able to keep the level of delay around the city at that constant, it's not a great constant, but it is a constant, is in itself an effect showing that our efforts are working.
So consistently bad, but not getting worse. And as I mentioned, Lena and Bakari, we did speak with people who are heading home today on Spadina, whether they think they notice a difference. Here's what they had to say. Have a listen.
Getting across from University to here was no problem with all the one ways, but when I get to here, it's slow.
Transit is deeply needed in this city. I mean, I think we're 10 years behind Europe, 5 years behind Asia. We've got to do better. They collect a lot of taxes from us, put our tax dollars to work better to make the commute worth it. I mean, 1 minute, 2 minutes here is not going to cause an effect because, like, in the next 2 weeks, 10 months, a year from now, the population will increase. So if we're gonna reduce the traffic time by 2 minutes, you have 10,000 people moving in some new condos. What's that gonna do? Dig some more tunnels. I mean, Asia is doing it, Europe is doing it.
Yeah, so some really good points there. Other cities around the world are doing this. Why can't we? And obviously, the cost of congestion to the city is a lot. And when you talk about air quality as well, we've seen emissions reports showing just how much it's spiked ever since a lot of this construction started. All you have to do is look up to see that the sky is maybe not as blue as it should be. The air isn't great downtown Toronto. And obviously, this factors in. And we did hear from the mayor today as well, Lena and Bakari, apologizing, actually, saying that the city should have looked at this sooner, should have noticed that this would be a problem. But she says things are getting better. Back to you.
Okay, live along Spadina, CP24's Lindsay Biscuit. Well, an option to that is what, transit, right? But subway riders, you're not going to have free Wi-Fi while aboard the TTC soon. So the TTC and Rogers, they're ending free public Wi-Fi at Toronto subway stations by the end of the year, noting poor performance and security issues. The TTC says that plans to expand 5G service along the subway. That's not going to be disrupted, and users will be able to make calls, text, or browse the internet, but using your mobile data. TTC spokesperson Stuart Green says that its Wi-Fi service wasn't in high demand for subway users.
Let's be very clear. This has nothing to do with the connectivity and the wireless connectivity upgrades that are underway. This is a standalone system. This does not impact at all 5G connectivity. That system is being rolled out. That continues to be rolled out, and that's proven very effective. We're only talking about this very lightly used service. Fewer than 98% of our customers are not using it. They're using their own data plans. This is a very small number, and anyone you don't even need a data plan to call 911. So if there's security concerns with your cell phone, you call 911. That's an option to everybody, regardless of whether or not you have data. And of course, we have all the emergency features like emergency strip.
And Rogers has issued a statement. Part of that says this is a TTC decision. The Wi-Fi infrastructure at subway stations has reached its end of life, and usage has dropped dramatically since we started rolling out 5G in the subway system. It goes on to say, we proposed options to the TTC to update or replace the equipment, and they decided to decommission T-Connect.
More workers at the Ontario Science Centre are set to lose their jobs. Dexterra Group, which provides cleaning services at the facility, sent a letter to the Ontario Public Service Employees Union. This was last week. It said 28 employees will lose their jobs by the end of October. The exhibits could be moved to another location, with reports of the Convention Centre and Mississauga being an option. The province plans to build a new science centre at Ontario Place, but that's not going to open until at least 2028. And Premier Doug Ford says all options are still on the table for a temporary location.
Well, what I want to do is listen to other options, because I know Toronto has options, Mississauga does, and everyone else. I just want to get a new one built as quickly as possible. And, you know, we'll find jobs for those people within the system. So we'll help them out. That's what I don't like, anyone ever losing their jobs.
And a possible strike is looming at Life Labs. Couriers and mailroom clerks in the GTA and Kitchener, they could walk off the job if a deal isn't reached by Saturday. The union, which represents 150 workers, says full-time employees are struggling to pay their bills. Couriers are responsible for picking up tens of thousands of blood samples and other test specimens from hospitals, doctors' offices, and pharmacies, and delivering them to Life Labs for testing.
Right now it's 5:48, 23 degrees. This is Live at 5.
William Osler Health System is investigating tonight after complaints about an elderly sick patient being shaved without permission at Brampton Civic Hospital. We're going to hear from the family next.
William Osler Health System says that it's investigating after complaints about an elderly sick patient being shaved without permission at Brampton Civic Hospital.
The World Sikh Organization of Canada says it expressed its shock and outrage to the CEO of Osler. The group says the incident involving Joginder Singh Kalair took place last month despite explicit instructions from his family to respect his religious beliefs and not shave him. It notes shaving or removing of hair is a violation of the beliefs of practicing Sikhs. The family says they still don't know why the facial hair was removed since no medical procedure was required at that hospital. We spoke to Kalair's son-in-law today.
When they were asked as to why it happened, they just said they don't know. They point to one person, they point to a different person each time. And when the doctors were asked, the doctor said it's not up to them, it's up to the nurses. Go and talk to the nurses. And when we talk to the nurses, we don't get an answer. So we're left in a limbo. Now, I read the statement that they put out, what you read in the beginning of this interview. You know, they're saying in that interview that they respect everybody's religion and this and that. When they were told over the phone that this is a religious concept, that no, you cannot do that.
The William Osler Health System did issue a statement to CP24. It reads, quote, Osler strives to deliver safe and compassionate care for every patient we serve, and we are sorry and deeply concerned when we do not meet the standard our patients and their families expect and deserve. Osler respects the religious rights and freedoms of all Canadians and supports a positive, inclusive, and safe environment while caring for our community and each other with kindness, empathy, and understanding.
And according to the William Osler Health System, funds raised by the Sikh community helped complete the development of Brampton Civic Hospital, which opened in 2007. That contribution was recognized by naming the emergency department after the founder of Sikhism, Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
An emotional day for Toronto Fire Chief Matthew Begg, who oversaw his final graduation before retirement.
Chief Pegg welcoming 15 new call takers and dispatchers to the ranks of Toronto Fire Services following an 8-week training program. Chief Pegg says he's going to miss these experiences when he hangs up his hat and calls it a career next month after more than 30 years in firefighting.
I go through this wave of emotion where, you know, things happen very quickly, but I'm now in this cycle where I'm going through these kind of list of things that will be my last. And, you know, the Toronto Fire Service does such a phenomenal job of formal events like this and graduations, and it has been my privilege and pleasure to welcome more than 1,100 people into this organization over the course of my tenure as fire chief, and I'm proud of every one of them.
As Chief Pegg mentioned earlier, it's not for everyone, and I always felt like it was something that I could do, and I've always took interest in communications, and I've always wanted to learn the techniques of de-escalation that these professionals clearly possess, and I wanted to be one of those professionals.
Chief Pegg announced his retirement earlier this year. His last date is going to be October 4th. And I do have to say, I'm going to miss him as well. Because
he is the best.
He is, you know, he really cares about not only his team, but the community as well.
He really does. He's always great on scenes and just so friendly. And as you said, he really cares. It's 5:55 now, 23 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, it is day 8 of TIFF, and Randy Bachman and Kiefer Sutherland just walked the red carpet for the film, Taking Care of Business. It's a busy night on the red carpet for the screening of Taking Care of Business.
The movie follows Canadian rock legend Randy Bachman along his musical journey, playing in the bands The Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive. CTV was at Roy Thompson Hall to catch up with him along with the cast of the film.
I've been a fan and a listener of his music from the Guess Who back when I was a young boy. And those songs, they resonate so kind of beautifully that I've carried them with me my whole life. And so there are songs of his that represent just different moments in my life, and like music when it's great does. So that was my initial interest in the film.
I didn't know it was going. I didn't know it was being done.
And because I was kind of the leader of both bands, I guess, in BTO, I have all these archives of films my dad took on a little wind-up camera, and then Betamax and VHS, and then all the other cameras. Boxes, 50 years of this stuff that we just said, when Tyler called and said, I want to do this, it's more than a guitar story. And then in the middle, I had double COVID, cancer, a whooping cough and everything. So apparently that's in the movie. I haven't, talk to me in 2 hours after I see this.
All right, this is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.